the deal, man? Fueled by Kraft. If you haven't already, please subscribe, drop a like, a comment. If you do one of those three, I appreciate it. If you do all three of them, I appreciate that even more. Jumping right into it, I got some transfer portal news, specifically about the Miami Hurricanes. They were the runner-up in this year's national championship game. And for a team that came in second place, they wasted no time reloading up and getting their roster right to contend again next year. Darian Mensah, former quarterback at Duke, announced about mid-December that he planned to return to the school. But since then, the NIL has called, which is shaking up a lot of things. And now he's on his way to Miami. Last year, he was second in the FBS in yards and touchdowns, totaling 3,973 yards, 34 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions. So he does a really good job at taking care of the football. One of the most accurate quarterbacks in the entire college football. And I think he'll be a top 5 quarterback going into this season with all the weapons he's got in Miami. Following him to Miami is his teammate Cooper Barrett. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. His favorite and the best target this past season at Duke. Over 2 years at Duke, Cooper has totaled 135 receptions, 2,190 yards, and 18 touchdowns. And he ended this past season second in the ACC in yards and touchdowns, only behind his new teammate Malachi Tony. So Darian Mensah brings his favorite target with him to Miami, while keeping Malachi Tony and the defensive side of the ball out of Mizzou. They also, Miami, that is, gets Damon Wilson. This past season, he had 9 sacks, 6'4", 250-pound guy off the edge, former 5-star, the number 3 edge in the portal, and the number 6 overall player. And I think this is the perfect Ruben Bain replacement because he's going to the NFL. In the game specifically against number 8 Alabama, he racked up 2 sacks, which is really impressive considering the fact that it's SEC play. And he also got a sack in his first career interception against number 10 Vanderbilt at the time. And at the conclusion of this past season, he was named to the All-SEC second team. So they get a great Ruben Bain replacement, and they also add some firepower on the offensive end. Look out for Miami dominating the transfer portal. A few games ago, we saw a really great matchup that could potentially decide the Rookie of the Year race. And the Duke boys were at it. Cooper Flagg and the Dallas Mavericks took on Con Knippel and the Charlotte Hornets. Really great game, really high-scoring, exciting, fast-paced game. The Charlotte Hornets do hold off the Mavs and win 123-121. But in that game, Con Knippel had 34 points, 8 three-pointers. And I know it's pretty premature and really early into the season and early in his career. But I think maybe 5 years or maybe 5 years down the line, we might be putting Con Knippel and Klay Thompson conversations as one of the best shooters the NBA has ever seen. And he's honestly an all-around player, really high IQ player. But like I said, his three-point shot, he's a sniper. One of the more dangerous weapons already in the NBA. And Cooper Flagg, the number 1 overall pick out of Duke as well, had a crazy 49 points, 20 for 28 from the field, super efficient. The most points that we've seen by a teenager in NBA history. Now, looking back at it, hindsight is 2020. This Cooper Flagg for Luka Doncic trade might actually pan out and make a lot of sense. Now, obviously, in the moment, it didn't make sense for as good of a player as Luka is. But for Cooper Flagg to only be a teenager and already flirting with dropping 50 points, the game is slowing down for him. It looks like each game he's just starting to get better and better. And I think for the first time since this 1999-2000 season where Elton Brand and Steve Francis both won co-Rookie of the Years, I think it's a really good shot that we see Con Knippel and Cooper Flagg share that award as they both are balling out. Sticking with basketball, but moving on to the collegiate side, KU takes out BYU in a really important game. If you didn't watch my video where I previewed the game, please go back and look at it. I feel like I went like 3 for 3. I gave Kansas path on, how they should and will beat BYU. The first thing I said was how they need to have balanced scoring like that KU game where all starters were in double digits as far as points. And KU was able to do that. Bryson Tiller led the way, 21 points, 7 rebounds, 3 for 5 from 3, 1 block, and played the second most minutes next to Richie Saunders in the entire game in 38 minutes. And another point I made in that video in the KU BYU preview, I noted that Bryson Tiller is the X factor. If a guy like him and a player of his ability can really start to develop and hone in, he could be a really important piece of this KU team. Darren Peterson on a minute restriction, he had 18 points, 3 rebounds, 3 steals, and also went 3 for 5 from the 3. I also mentioned in that video that we got to hit our open shots. Now, Darren Peterson didn't play the second half due to cramps. Bill Self came out and said, it could also be a conditioning thing because since the last time he tweaked his ankle, he hasn't really been getting up and down the court as much. So I do expect him to see him. In this game tomorrow against Texas Tech on the road. Should be a really fun Big 12 matchup like we've been saying this past year. And one more thing I wanted to touch on really quickly. Royal Rumble just took place. Now, while I don't agree with a lot of the things that went on in the Royal Rumble, but I try to stay on the bright side of these things. Lash legend, she looked great in the Royal Rumble. I liked how, especially in the men's and women's Royal Rumble this year, WWE really focused on creating new stars, which is things people have been complaining about a lot lately. Lash, she eliminated Charlotte, so that's quite the rub. She eliminated both Bella twins. So she had a really big standout performance, and I do expect her to start to see a push as we get further into this year on SmackDown. And honestly, wouldn't be surprised if she has one of the bigger women's matches at WrestleMania this year. And I know it's kind of early, but I wouldn't even mind seeing her defeat Jade Cargill if we don't see Bianca Belair anytime soon. Kiana James and Sol Ruka also made a really big statement in that Royal Rumble match as well. Again, WWE did a really good job at elevating their young talent in both the men's and women's side in the Royal Rumble specifically. Femi on the men's side started off number 1, looked great. I'm not sure how many eliminations he had, but later down the line, 5-10 years in this Royal Rumble match, I wouldn't be surprised if he holds the record for the most eliminations. Because I know from watching it, I didn't keep track, but I know he eliminated like the first 4 or 5 people in a row that came in that match. So for this to be his first match ever on the main roster, they wasted no time. Outside of Saturday night's main event, they wasted no time pushing over to the moon, and I think it's a great option. Powerhouse Hobbs, new name is Royce Keys. He looked really great in that match. Eliminated Damian Priest. So not only were these young guys given a lot of time in this Royal Rumble, they eliminated some pretty big names, which can kind of lead up to some feuds going into WrestleMania. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Damian Priest, Royce Keys feud. But honestly, I'm not too big of an AEW watcher, so I'm not too sure how Powerhouse Hobbs or Royce is on the mic. But I honestly think he'll be great alongside The Miz. Not necessarily as like a lackey or a flunky, but just to give him a voice as he kind of works his way into the WWE system. And then, we kind of get that storyline where The Miz and him kind of dominate SmackDown. Maybe even helps The Miz win the United States Championship from Carmelo Hayes. But over time, kind of similar to the MJF, forgot that other dude's name, Warlow, MJF and Warlow, where Warlow starts to pick up that MJF is kind of just using them. MJF is just using them to get out of situations. And I think that could be a really good way to get a big pop out of the Royce Keys Miz situation. Javon Evans was this year's Iron Survivor. I think he lasted a little bit over 40 minutes in the match. Did a really good job. One thing I do have to say, and I don't want to nitpick because it was a great performance, but I'm just not a fan that he spent like 90% of his time like on the ropes, outside of the ring, on top of the ropes, especially in a match like the Royal Rumble. Now, gimmicks are important, and being bouncy is part of his gimmick, but that's like his entire moveset, and I think that just opens up for a lot of error, a lot of slips, nasty landings, nasty falls. So I would like to see Javon Evans do kind of more in-ring work. I don't know. I kind of just get nervous watching him wrestle because I think every time I don't know. It just looks like he slips a lot. And I think he even had a moment in the Royal Rumble pretty early where he almost slipped and both feet hit the ground, but he did a really good job at reacting pretty instantly and catching himself before he could do that. I don't want them to make him like the new Kofi Kingston where every year he has to find a new innovative way to not get eliminated. I think it'll be cool for WWE to just keep that as Kofi's thing. But Javon Evans did a really good job. Like I said, Iron Survivor, and both men's and women's WWE did a really good job at elevating their young stars. That's all I got for y'all today, man. Drop a comment, like, appreciate you guys for all the support. This is Feel by Kraft.